In this video I will show you how to use the tool Take Recorder. Take Recorder allows you to record any actions happening in Unreal as an animation. And then this animation can be played separately. For example, you can record the character's movement and the actions they perform in the scene. And then this animation can be played back. This may be necessary if we want to record a walkthrough of our interior in high quality, whilst at the same time, the graphics card power does not allow for high graphics and high resolution settings. For Take Recorder to work, it must be enabled in the plugins. By default, it is enabled. But it wouldn't hurt to check that this plugin is activated. We can find Take Recorder in the menu Windows, Cinematic, Take Recorder. To record animation, you need to add an object to the Take Recorder, which actions will be recorded. I have a character set up in the scene, so I will add the character here and record its movement. I click Source and Player. I press Source, starting the game. Now I need to press Record. The countdown is on. And now all characters' actions will be recorded. For example, his movement, squats, and zoom will also be recorded. I will finish recording the animation, and now let's see what we got. When recording, a new sequence is created, in which the animation will be stored. I will turn on the camera view of this animation and press play. It's clear that all the actions of the character that I did were recorded. In the same way, you can also record, for example, the camera movement. I will add camera to the scene. Create a new camera. I will add it to the Take Recorder now. I will switch the view from this camera. And now I will press record. Now I will start moving, and let's see how all these actions will be recorded. Stopping the recording. I press stop. And now let's see what was recorded. I'm opening this sequence. I switch to camera view and press play. You can see the camera moving. Now let's figure out how to record any actions that take place in the scene. For example, these could be the works of some blueprints. Since I have objects in the scene that can be interacted with. For example, you can change the materials, and you can also turn the backlight on and off. Now I will record the actions for turning the light sources on and off. I have various light sources set up in the scene that you can interact with. For example, the lighting in the kitchen and above the island. I will add these objects to the Take Recorder. I'm moving the objects. I'm interested in here. I'm moving. Also, I will add this backlight and these lights to the Take Recorder as well. Choosing objects in the Take Recorder list, we can see various parameters. Also, all the properties that Take Recorder can record for these objects are listed here. I will also draw attention to the record type parameter. Here you can choose either possessable or spawnable. By default, spawnable is used in the project, but that doesn't suit us. When the spawnable parameter is used, a copy of the object is created each time recording starts. We are not working with the object itself, but with its copy. And that doesn't suit us. We need possessable. So we need to select possessable for the objects. But constantly selecting this parameter from the list can be inconvenient. Moreover, it's easy to forget to do this, and the actions on the objects will not be recorded. The value of record type can be changed in the project settings. I will go into project settings. and into possessible here. I'll check the record of possessible box here. Now all objects that will be added to the take recorder will have the default value of possessible, and you will not have to change it every time. Thus we will avoid problems with the recording. Now let's talk about the objects themselves that we want to record. In my case, these are light sources, but they are presented as blueprints. There can be not only a light source there, but also a geometry. This is done specifically so that this object can be interacted with. In the list of the properties that can be recorded, there are quite a few items, but for us only one point is important, so I will uncheck all these boxes to avoid recording unnecessary information, and I will only note that point that I need. In my case, it's visibility track, and I will enter it here. Why did I specifically mark the visibility track properties? I'll open the blueprint that I want to control. This is the under cabinet lighting in the kitchen. If you look here, you can see that the blueprint controls the visibility property. There is a switch, and when the object is pressed, the visibility property changes. There is a switch, so it's either turned on or off. That's why I specifically noted the properties of the visibility track. I want to do the same for other light sources. Backlighting over the island, I will also uncheck all these properties, and I will only check the visibility track for the light bulb. And the same for the other object. For this object, there are 3 lamps above the ticket. We need to mark the visibility track for each of the lamps. I have marked everything. Now let's try to make a recording. I stop the game and press record. Now I will stop the recording and let's see what we get. I'm opening this sequence and we'll run it. But unfortunately I forgot to add one object. I needed to add a player. Although the actions on the light sources were still recorded for me. The thing is, to see them, I need to launch the game. Launching the game. I will go to that place. By pressing Ctrl plus F1, I made it so that my mouse reappeared. Now if I move the slider along the sequence, you can see how the backlight turns off and on for me. That is the animation that was recorded. So, although the player object was not present, okay, I will stop this, and now I will record it again, but this time with the player object. I will start the game again, I will press record. I will also click the backlight to make sure everything is working for me, and I will stop the recording. I will open the sequence again. I will press the camera so that I have a view from the camera. Now I'll start it. The camera movement is visible, but the actions on the camera movement is visible, but the actions on the light sources are not visible. This is because the game needs to be launched. I will start the game. And now I will start playing the sequence. The thing is, it's only after the game starts, actions on the blueprints start to work. And now I will render the sequence. And I will check, will these actions really be on the renders? I click on the render, the movie render queue starts. I will not make any additional adjustments, I will just hit the render. Character movement, and controlling the light sources. And all these actions were recorded. Everything is fine with that. Now let's consider some more complex actions. Besides the light sources, I have other objects in the scene with which you can interact. For example, this is furniture. You can change the material on it. You can change the material of the sofa. You can change them also the textures of the carpet. You can turn on the TV on and off. Interacting with such objects and interactions with such objects will be a bit more difficult to record. The thing is, these objects, they do not contain properties which I control. For example, I will open the chair. In this case, I have it on command, interaction with the objects. The materials are being changed. One material is assigned to the geometry, or another material. The problem is the chair, it doesn't have the properties which I can record, and which would affect the change of the material. Therefore, here it will be necessary to take a different approach and tweak the blueprint a bit. By the way, if we do not want the take recorder list to be reset after the project restarts, we can save it, like a preset. You need to press the preset button and give it a name. Click Save. Next on, we can upload the already prepared list. Now let's move on to the chair blueprint, in which the material change is specified. The problem with this object is that in the tape recorder it doesn't have the right properties, with changing which we could achieve the change of the material. Therefore, to achieve recordings of material changes, and then through the sequencer reproduce this operation, I suggest taking the following action. Therefore, to achieve recording of material changes, and then through the sequencer reproduce this operation, I suggest taking the following actions. I will add a variable. In the variable section, I click on the plus sign, and the variable appears for me. I will put there some name, for example, a chair. The variable will be a type of boolean, so it will take a value 0 or 1. It is also necessary to check the box, export to cinematic. After that, once this checkbox is checked, this variable will be available in the properties in the take recorder. You must press compile and save. We will not see this variable here right now. We need this object removed from the take recorder and place it back again. Now it can be noticed that a variable chair has appeared. Now we can record the changing value of its variable. In the sequencer, I will uncheck all the properties. And I will mark only the chair I need. Now we will enter the blueprint editor, and I will do it so after each change of material it changed for me. And the value of variable. Change of material happens in blocks set material, dragging the variable in the editor field, and click set the chair. To set the value, I will connect the node in which the material changes. Next, with the change of the variable, these actions will take place sequentially. After the material has changed, next comes the change of the variable. By default, the value is 0, so there is no checkmark, and we'll change it to 1. That is the presence of a checkmark. I will copy it, pressing Ctrl plus D, and I will join it to the next node. In this case, the value of the variable changes, but already from 1 to 0. These actions will be displayed in the sequencer, thus making it clear for Unreal that some action in the blueprint takes place. Must click compiling, must click on the compile, and also save. Now I will test what I have recorded. Now we will test what we have created. We will start the game. We'll click on the chair so that the material changes. I think that's enough. Stopping. And now I'm opening the sequencer we just recorded. Here I have two tracks. The first one is about the character, and the second one is about armchairs. I will open the armchair, and it's visible here that this object there is one property which is called a chair. This is our variable, and it is also displayed on the track, so its meaning changed. These are the red ones and the green areas. Now moving the slider along the timeline, I can observe how the material has changed. But right now I do not see it. I need to restart the game. The thing is, only after the launching of the game, blueprints become active, and you can observe their operation. Excellent, we have recorded the variable, but now we need to create some logic in the blueprint, so that when the sequencer is playing for me, the opposite action was happening. When the variable changes, the material changes along with it. I will add an event called event tick. So this is the event which will be happening constantly, and I will have it constantly. And the inspection check will be happening. So it will be checked whether the variable has changed in the sequencer or not. And if the check suddenly finds out that the variable was changed, the command will be given: change the material, pulling from the event tick branch. Branch is an operator which has the condition parameter, and a condition is set, and if the condition is executed, then the true branch is triggered. If the condition is not met, then the fail branch is triggered. And I will be checking it right now. Has the variable changed or not? If the variable changed, then a command to change the material will follow. I will trigger onto the field, the variable chair, that is to take the value of the variable. I will also need one more variable with which the chair is adjustable. It will be compared. I will call it the old chair, so the old meaning. And likewise, I will pull it into the field. I will press it to get the old chair. Now I will add a comparison. Pulling out the branch, press equals, and I choose the equal function. Equal is indeed comparison. So it checks, so it compares, is the chair equal? And the resulting outcome sends to the branch. According to my logic, the following happens. When the material changes, the value of the chair variable changes as well, and the equality will not be true anymore. So the fails branch will be triggered. Now I need to create a new event. I right click and I write event. Add custom event. So it is some event. It means that something happens. I'm connecting this event to the logic of changing the material. So when will I have the inspection in the branch? And the inspection will detect that a material change has occurred. Next I will trigger the event, which will start the material switch. Pulling the branch, running a custom event, adding this event when the material change occurs, an event will be triggered, and this event will already trigger the change of material in the blueprint. Now I'm dragging the variable here, the chair is all. I press set, that is set a new value, and I'm connecting the new value of the variable to the old chair. That's it. The logic is ready. Now we can test it. How is all this going to work? I press compile and save. Now I will launch it. I will launch the game. And we will see. Will the material change? I will move closer to the chair. And now I will move the slider on the sequencer. And you can see that the blueprint detects a variable change, and accordingly changing the material. Now I will go to the initial screen of the sequence, I click on the sequence folder or on the arrow. And now I will check. Will it render for me? Will this animation render for me? I'm clicking on render. And with the default settings, setting the render. It's clear that the material is changing. And all of this is reflected in the render. Well, so the idea works. Now, I will show you using a carpet as an example. What can be done in the case if we have, for example, 3 material options, like on my carpet, 3 different textures. In this case, usage of Boolean variable, which can only have 2 values, will not work, because we have an odd number of switches. Here it will be necessary to use another variable, which in each case you can set your own individual value. I'm already here created a variable which is called carb. This is a variable of type integer. So that is an integer. It can take any integer values. For example, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Pulling out this variable on the blueprint field, I press set carb, so set a new value, and I connect it to the node, after which in which there was a change of material, and I changed its meaning, and I changed its value. Now it will be 1. Making a copy, I press Ctrl D, and here is already 2. I'm making another copy, and here will be a third. Now after each material change, it will be recorded in the sequencer, new value of the variable. Now after each material change, the new value of the variable will be recorded in the sequencer. Very important, do not forget to check the box for the variable exposure to cinematic, otherwise it will not be displayed in the take recorder. Adding to the take recorder, object, carpet, I'm watching the variable is in place, so you can record it. So you can record its changes. I'm only marking this variable. The rest of the logic will be the same, just like in the previous blueprint. I right click, creating an event. I pull a branch from it, and I write a branch. Now I'm adding conditions. Extracting the variable, I click get carb. So get the value from the variable. Carb old. This is the old value of the variable, with which it will be compared. I click get carb old. Now I pull a branch from some variable. I press equal, and I select the equal function. Connect both variables to it, and the function itself. And the function itself, I connect in conditional. Now I'm performing variable comparison, and in case the values of the variable differ from each other, the corresponding event will be triggered. I will add an event, custom event. So this is a custom event. I will connect it to the material change logic. And from fails, I'm pulling out the branch, and now I'm looking for this event. I'm writing here, custom event. I select call function, custom event. Call means invocation of this event. Now I'm dragging the variable. Carb old. I press set, so set a new value, connecting, and the value of this variable will be set to the same as it was in the carb variable. So after the material change, the values of both variables will become identical. This is necessary so that the material change no longer occurs. At the same time, I will record the turning on and off of the TV in the sequencer. I will open the blueprint of the TV. This is what this blueprint looks like. After the player clicks on the TV, the switch is triggered in the first branch. The video starts playing. When clicked again on the TV, the second branch is triggered, where playback stops. And so it goes in circles. I will add the same logic. To start, I will add a variable. I will call it for example TV on. Let it be Boolean variable. I only need two values. Also, do not forget to set export to cinematic so that the variable value is displayed in the take recorder. I will drag the variable, click set, and after turning on the TV, I will change its value to 1. I will check the box, I will drag the variable again, and now after turning off the TV, the value of the variable will change to 0, meaning the absence of the check mark. I will click compile and save. Now I will drag the TV into the take recorder. Now I will check for the variable presence. It's in place. I will only mark it. And now I will return to the blueprint editor and add the remaining logic. I will also call the event tick event. I will pull out the branch node from it. Now I will add a comparison and looking for a variable, which will be called TV on hold. Similarly, I drag them, click get. Pull out the branch, click equal, and the function equal. I connect the variables and the function conditional to it. Now I'm adding the event, add custom event, and connecting it to the TV turn on logic. And from the fails branch, I call this event, I click kill the custom event, and trigger this event. I drag the variable TV on hold and assign a new value. That's it. The blueprint of TV has been edited. Now you can start recording and check how it all works. Now an important addition. Before we start recording the walkthrough, it is important to disconnect in each of the blueprints the event tick event from the logic of turning on the TV. Otherwise, we will have conflicts. Everything disconnected, click compile and save. Now I launch the game and click on the recording. Let's first check the chase functionality. Now let's see how the material on the carpet changes. Okay, enough. And now let's turn on the TV. Turning on and turning off. Excellent. That's enough for us. Stopping the recording. I open the sequencer. And let's see what we have recorded here. All these objects have been recorded. If we click on each of the objects, we will see that there are keys present here. This is exactly the changes of variables. Where the variables are Boolean, we have red and green stripes. And in another variable, where they are numerical, there are just keys. Now we need to reconnect. Now we need to reconnect the event tick events back to the branch node. We will do this in each of the blueprint. Click compile and save. Now we can start the game and see how it all looks. I click Start Game, switch to the camera. Now we can start the game and see how it all works. I click Start the game, switch to the camera and start the sequencer. The chase changing. Next, we see the carpet also changes. Next, let's see. And now let's check if the TV power on was recorded. Yes, and the TV also turns on and off. Great. So the recording of the passage went correctly. Now there is a feature here that when we scroll the slider on the timeline to the left, the carpet starts to glitch a bit, but that's not a big deal. When we stop the render, everything will go smoothly. I stop the playback and click on render. I will choose to render only the last sequence. With the default settings, I click render. Great, everything has rendered. All the animations are working correctly, no issues are observed. Now it is important to note that after we recorded the walkthrough, we need to go into each of the blueprints that we set up and remove the connection between the event tick event and the branch. So remove this connection. This is necessary so that our blueprints start working normally again. Otherwise, if we want to walk through around the interior and click on objects, they will not work correctly. So this connection needs to be removed. On each of the blueprints where we set up the logic. So disconnect event tick from the branch, then click compile and save. Now the blueprints will work properly as they should.